Welcome. I'm Stephen Winnick of the American Folklife Center of the Library of Congress. For many years, we've presented the Homegrown Concert Series featuring the best in folk music and dance from around the world at the Library of Congress in Washington. In the year 2020, because of the global pandemic, we shifted to producing an online video concert series, which we called Homegrown at Home. And in that process, we realized that online video concerts allowed us to present a wider range of artists than presenting all our concerts in Washington. So now, in 2023, we're presenting a mix of live concerts in Washington and pre-recorded video concerts from artists around the world. We are very happy to be presenting Ali Doğan Gönültaş with his quartet. Ali is a fantastic musician, singer, and composer across a variety of genres, but for this concert, he performed traditional songs from the different communities in his hometown in Anatolia, which is Kiğı, and his neighborhood of Gazi Mahallesi. When we can, we like to conduct interviews with the artists we present. So I am here with Ali Doğan Gönültaş. And welcome, Ali. Can you begin by saying your own name for us so that people will hear it pronounced more correctly?
Hello. I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank you and Library of Congress because you're interested my musical perspective, my musical process. I'm so glad. Thank you. My name is Ali Doğan Gönültaş. I'm live Gazi Mahallesi right now, and I was born Kiğı. Yes.
And what were your, well, explain physically, where is that in Turkey? Where is Kiğı?
I'm now live in Gazi Mahallesi, in part of Istanbul, Gazi Mahallesi.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's start talking about your music and just from early days. What were your earliest experiences with music?
Actually, my earliest experience of music was with the tambour instrument hanging on the wall of our first house in Istanbul. This instrument is considered sacred in my family culture. I remember my father playing it when I was 4 and 5 years old, and later on my older cousin and my uncle also played. In addition, my grandmother and my uncle used to sing, and I used to take my uncle as a role model. It was an experience that influenced my relation with traditional music, actually.
And you mentioned the tanbur. So what kind of instrument is it? It's a string instrument, right?
Yes, it's with string instruments, like a bağlama. Maybe you know bağlama, like a bağlama. But according Alavi people, especially according Alavi people, this instrument sacred.
Interesting.
Yes.
So when did you start to study music more seriously? Who were some of your teachers in music?
Actually, it was quite late. I became seriously interested in music. I played tambur, but it was basic, and was purely intuitive. I had no musical purpose, but time by time, when I was 18 years old, I was listening to music like a crazy. I became interested in classical guitar, and I decided to take a private lesson. Still, I wasn't sure if I want to do music professionally. In the same process, I decided to study archaeology at university. We formed a band called Ze Tijê in Istanbul. Our purpose, our goal here was just like make a music. We didn't have a professional purpose, but the existence of the band made me take music more seriously.
Well, and it became pretty successsul, Ze Tijê, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes,
explain some
yes.
of that career with the band.
When as I said before, when I was 18 years old, we decided making music with my friends, and because my friends lived in the Gazi Mahallesi, and we decided, yes, of course we can make music. Only our first purpose that only make music, and time by time everything's grew up. Yes, and then I took jazz harmony lesson from Pasha Çelik. On the other hand, my bandmates, my band friends were playing at master level, and they were helping me about tambur. And I studied theoretical. Sorry.
No, go on. I'm sorry.
Yes, I studied theoretical and practical music for a long time. My environment taught me a lot of things about music. The learning process is variable. You can get a lot of theoretical and practical information from different sources. And my biggest chance was my curiosity. I learned a lot of things from everyone. My big teacher was my family and my friends. Yes.
Well, that's often the way it works in traditional music, of course, is your family and friends are
Yes.
there and they're playing, and by playing with them, you learn a lot. Now, in addition to being a musician, you mentioned that you studied archaeology, and you're also a trained ethnographer, and you worked in filmmaking, so in media studies. So how does all of that affect your approach to music?
Honestly, I think it's very useful to work in three different files, three different topics. Of course, music is what I focus on the most, but I think the common feature of these three different disciplines is that they allow you to do you to be in close contact with people. It's different from an engineer or employer. I learned visuality and creating mise en scène while making in more details thanks to cinema. Actually, I learned how to contact an auditory work with a visual work. This is how I designed my own video clips. Archaeology education taught me how to use right method during my oral historical works. I understood how to preserve valuable pieces of my past and my roots. My musical purpose is just like the archaeological discipline of surveying, excavation, and inventory work. I also use archaeological backgrounds and reference in my video clips.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see some of the sites that you put into the videos, right? That you've thought about them from that perspective. Very interesting.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So your concert for us was based on an album project, and that was based on a theme of your specific region and hometown of Kiğı. Could you explain briefly the cultural landscape behind that album project?
Yes, of course, I can explain. Where I was born and where I grew up are two different elements, are two important elements in my musical perspective, actually. I need to explain the sociological and cultural structure of these two places because they both affected me a lot. Let me start with Kiğı, where I was born. Kiğı is a very old settlement. Its history dates back to ancient times. The oldest known people are the Urartians, then Armenians and Kurds settled here. Until the First World War, Armenians were the main inhabitants. Due to the changing political atmosphere after the war, Armenians migrated and were massacred. Other population of Kiğı were Kurds, like today. Kurds were conserved their language until the 1918s. The Kurds language was also suppressed because of changing political atmosphere in 1918s. A uniform Turkish and Islamic mentality was imposed on the people there. Therefore, we can talk about a deeply assimilation. Three different languages were spoken in this region: Armenian, Turkish, Kurdish, with different accents. Kiğı was a rich settlement with different beliefs, and also beliefs such as paganism, Christianity, Islam, and Alavism. Unfortunately, this richness has returned to a uniform time by time. Despite everything, I can say that people aware of each other's stories. Through stories, maybe architecture, and of course music. That's I call it the name of my album, Kiğı.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yes, if it's okay for you, I can explain. Relationship is Gazi Mahallesi, between Gazi Mahallesi and Kiğı.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Of course, you're in Gazi Mahallesi now,
yes,
but that's not in Kiğı. So explain where they are and the relationship between them.
Yes. This is a special neighborhood, Gazi Mahallesi, because many Kurdish and Alavi people from the easternmost part of Turkey immigrated to here in the 1980s and created an environment with their own culture that is different from the majority, which is Turkish. Gazi was like a big Kiğı. Gazi Mahallesi is predominantly Alavi and Kurdish neighborhood. My family is also Alavi and Kurdish origin. For this reason, when my family migrated from Kiğı to Gazi Mahallesi, they easily adapted to this neighborhood. The neighborhood you will see in the video performance is Gazi Mahallesi already. In 1995, when I was 10 years old, there was an attack in Gazi Mahallesi. It had a different cultural texture, and so it was dangerous for mainstream thinking. For the government, for the state, actually, Gazi was unique opportunity to polarize society. That's why they planned an attack, and they did. Unfortunately, suddenly, I grew up after that incident. Because of I related all of this after this situation. I started the relationship between my roots, between Gazi Mahallesi and Kiğı, because the same stories according to me. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you mention in the trailer for your album is the presence around Kiğı of silent graves of Armenians that people don't really talk about. How does that whole history affect the musical culture of the region?
I think a lot of as I said before, Armenians are main people of Kiğı, but because of the changing political atmosphere, their existence has become unrecognizable. They don't even have graves anymore. For example, my grandfather showed me the cemetery next to the village where I was born. Also, Osop Tokat from Kiğı, who lives in America, Florida, he told me about cemetery. He lived there once upon a time for a while, but now Kiğı is like a place for him. People's curiosity and objectively about the life before them is very weak. Yeah. This fact is very sad, but people can understand other story. I think despite everything, people can understand the other story if they can remain neutral. I sing many language at the concert, for example, and touches some people. After all, what I sing belongs to our common heritage.
So in Kiğı, did the different groups interact and learn each other's music? Were there Kurds who played Armenian music and Turks? Yes. and everyone doing each other's work?
Yes, of course, because we can understand this through music. In that region, many people I recorded with were able to live together with music and culture in the different language. They understood each other's feeling through music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's often how one of the ways in which cultures can come
Yes.
together is through music, even if they speak different languages.
Yes.
So I know you did a lot of interviewing and oral history behind the album. So you collected music and you collected the stories that went with songs. So how did you go about looking for songs and stories around Kiğı?
This process was long and tiring, but was wonderful for me. This actually, I want to explain. How to create it and how to collect it, all materials. Actually. This work started with questions I asked as a child. I was asking my parents questions about our culture, our roots, and because the language we spoke and our beliefs different from people outside. Especially when I started to be interested in traditional music, when I was 18 or 20 years old, the curiosity developed even more. And I started asking people questions, making recordings, and doing research on culture. Where, for example, where did we come from? Why don't we have a mainstream faith and beliefs and language? Why are songs and dance different? These were simple questions at first, but then they became more specific. And I decided to develop these questions. I asked these questions. I asked these questions first to my family, and then to people from Kiğı outside my family. I made many recordings both in Kiğı and the metropolises of Turkey, Istanbul. For example, Istanbul, Izmir, Ankara, and especially with old people, elderly. And these took approximately 10, 12 years.
Yeah, long process.
Yes, long process. And I learned and recording many stories, praise, songs, tales. These were about love, sometimes migration, sometimes daily routine, daily life, the past, etc. It was almost, as I said before, it was almost like an archaeological excavation for me.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all.
Well, that's wonderful, and it's great to hear that you're out there finding material and collecting stories, because these things have to be preserved. And of course, we are a library, and we have a large folk music archive. So we would love to hear about any archival research that you did. What can you tell us about traditional music in archives in Turkey, and did you visit them?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much. I think actually my purpose only my around, and that's why I aware a lot of things about my roots, about my history before this time. Yes, that's all.
Yeah. Did you visit libraries and archives to look for other songs or other traditions?
Yes. But generally, I like to be involved on the field. Sometimes, yes, of course, I like to book, I like to archive, but my job is on file.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
because of that, my friends generally old people,
yeah.
elderly.
Yeah.
My books,
Well, you'll
they are my books.
yeah. Well, that's another important way of finding things out. And of course, you can
Yes,
put that material in an archive and
yes,
preserve it for the future. So we hope you'll think about that too. So
yes.
thank you. So
You're welcome.
talking about the concert a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the songs you mentioned that the song Mkolime is in
Mm-hmm.
both Turkish and Kurdish. So
Uh-huh.
could you tell us a little about the song and the implications of it being in two languages?
Yes. Mkolime was consisted two language, Kurmancî and Turkish, and generally it played in the weddings during the weddings, and Mkolime it mean I'm villager, and generally played Mkolime played the Kiğı and around the Kiğı. It played. Actually, this songs typical Kurdish dances consist typical dances for and and Kurdish names these styles Berdolave is Berdolave like this. First of all, man's sing started of the song in the started of songs man's sings songs, and then women's against and women's repeat to man. This is very typical form, thematic form, especially love form in Kurdish music. Mkolime. Yes, like this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So several of the songs in the concert also are specifically Alevi. They're from the Alevism, the religion that you talked about. And I think a lot of our audience probably doesn't know much about the Alevi religion. Can you explain just briefly the features of it? I know it's a giant topic, but just a little bit.
Okay. Yes, Alevi music very important for actually for Turkish people and Kurdish people. Actually, and also I'm Alavi Georgian, like my mother and father, and it have many deeply means from 2000 years ago, and generally in Turkey, Alevi songs plays with Turkish language, and these very common things because generally all peoples of Alavi in Alevism, they sung with this language. But especially in Dersim and in Maraş, eastern of this place, eastern of belong to eastern of Turkey, they sang with Kurdish language. We say nefes, we say Deish or nefes, Alevi songs names. And very important because alternative thinking according to Islamic mentality, Alevism and song of Alevism present alternative thinking, and thanks of they present thanks to music actually. And according Alevish people, music sacred. As I said, yes, as I said before, when I was a child, when I was a little boy, when I was a little boy, instrument hanging the tambour, hanging on the wall of my house, and that's why we can learn autodidactically. Autodidactically, yes.
All right. So, thanks for explaining a little bit about the religion, because I know
You're
that's
welcome.
something
You're welcome.
we don't know. Yeah. So, so doing the collecting and research for your album was one process, but then you had to make the album itself. So could you talk about the process of creating that artistic project, the album Kiğı?
Actually, this process it was a most easy process for me. Because yes, how can I explain? I thinking this it has an artistic effect for me. Traditional songs. Simpler musical foundation, have a simpler musical foundation, but doesn't prevent us from seeing an artistic quality in them. For example, I can talk about Ze Tijê process. Visual breaking the music into science was a method we used to in Ze Tijê. We would critique it, and we realized that we found these ideas in traditional music actually. For example, in the song Entercime, there is a womanizing clothes salesman, and he is in love with a woman. He tries to seduce her. When I was arranging this song, I wanted to give the visuality of that moment in the music, and I wanted to deal with a small touch without disturbing the traditional structure. Like it is actually creating an artistic process like this.
Yeah, and I think that song is in your concert video, and it works beautifully. Yeah. I know what you mean of putting in the drama of the situation and the person's role as a seller and the cry form of, of the
Yeah,
song. It all came out very well. So, so thank you.
you're
So,
welcome.
you made the album, and then we asked you to make a concert video. So
Mhm.
the video came out really beautiful, and
Ah, I'm
we
glad to
want to
hear
know
that.
yeah, we love it. So how did you go about creating the video? What was that process?
Uh, Actually, this video process, you're talking about for library videos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. It's I thought how can I explain my inner journey,
Hmm.
and that's why I want to show my neighborhood, because it's a relation, it's related to my where I was born. Because of that, I said my friends, uh, we like this. We will make a video for Library of Congress. They said, okay, yes, with pleasure. Actually, this process very easy for me because visual worlds, visual environment, and I'm interested a lot visual and cinematic atmosphere.
Hmm.
Because of that, it was wonderful. It was so easy for me, and I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we really do enjoy it. So it was great. Yeah, great video, and I'm sure our audience, when they see it, will love it as well. So you mentioned bringing your friends in to make this video with
Mhm.
you. Of course, it's a quartet in the video. So tell us about your friends, your other musicians, a little bit. Are they the
Uh-huh.
same people on the album, or a different group, or?
Yes, some of them
Mhm.
played album. For example, the clarinetist player whose name Fırat Çakalı. When I started the solo project, Fırat was always close to me,
Mhm.
and I'm always the thanks Fırat. And Ibrahim, according to Fırat, Ibrahim added added the new, but we enjoyed played with each other with Ibrahim. On the other hand, in the album, percussions played other man name his name Tarık
Mhm.
Çalışkan, and to the player was Erdi Aslan. In For the videos of a library, my friends, other friends played. I forgot the name. Oh. Selami Gördeli played with me, and I'm glad because of play with them.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
they all did a wonderful job, and you did as the arranger and the main singer,
Mhm.
and musician. So like I said, it was a beautiful video. So thank you for
Thank
producing
you
that
too.
for us.
Thank you too. I'm so happy because of that.
All right. And so at the end of my interviews, I often ask the artist, is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask about. So do you have something else that you'd like to tell our audience?
No, but I'm only. I would like to only thanks you and thanks to audience because of interest me and my musical highlights, my musical process. Thank you so much. Your interest.
Well, thank you. Ali Doğan Gönültaş, wonderful Turkish Kurdish musician here and the Homegrown Concert Series. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.